So you've got your groove going, you've got your song sorted out, but you decide you want to use a different drum kit than the one you programmed. And then it doesn't work because the drum mapping's not the same. This is how you sort it out. So in my last video, I looked at what happens when you try to take a drum groove from one manufacturer and use it with a virtual kit from another manufacturer, and you find that it doesn't work. This is because over the years, the different software manufacturers have tried to provide more articulations and more instruments than were originally envisaged when General MIDI was first promulgated. What this has meant is there's been a divergence from the General MIDI map, and so things don't always work the way they should. I'm going to look at how you can fix that. And as an extreme example, I'm going to use the drum MIDI that I programmed when I was with Freeway. As I've spoken about in a previous video, with Freeway, we used 2 drum machines to provide the drum voices, and the drums were mapped across 2 machines over 2 MIDI channels. What this left us with was kind of a complex drum map. In this video, I'm going to remap one of those songs to a Native Instruments drum set. Now the reason I'm using Native Instruments 80s Drummer is that I went through the 40 odd songs that Freeway used to do, and I looked at all the different drum articulations that we used for those songs, and the best fit was the Native Instruments 80s Drummer. So this is the song Gimme a Reason, which was the only one of the songs that Freeway used to do that was an original. Everything else was a cover. So for copyright reasons, I can't use the covers, but what I can do is use Gimme a Reason because I've got the copyright. Over the next few videos, I'm going to show you how I go about revoicing the various instruments, given the fact that I've got a lot more choice than we used to have back in the day. And I'm going to record the guitars and vocals, a sort of beginner's guide, if you like. But where we are now is we have the drums loaded in and the bass guitar MIDI. Now when Cubase loads a MIDI file, it doesn't automatically assign the voices to the MIDI. What it has done here is it's allocated PANASONIC to the drum set, but the bass guitar has nothing. So I went through all the songs that Freeway did. There were 40 odd songs that we did, and I've looked at the drum parts for all of them. With one exception, the best fit is Native Instruments 80s Drummer, the black kit. Kind of appropriate considering as we were an 80s rock band, really. The one exception is ZZ Top's Rough Boy, where the syntoms that Frank Beard used at the beginning just don't appear satisfactorily in any of the Native Instruments kits. I'm not really sure they appear in any of the Native Instruments or Toontrack kits or the Stephen Slate kits. I'm going to have to use a battery kit for that particular articulation. But other than that, 80s Drummer is the way to go. The only problem is, as you'll see in a minute, the mapping for Freeway is bizarre by sort of modern standards. So what I'll do first of all is load in Contact, and we'll discard the changes there. Load up Contact, and we'll load up the 80s Drummer. We'll go with the Black Kit Lite for now. If you don't know the difference, Black Kit Lite and Black Kit Full are the same kit, the same voices, but fewer samples per drum. So the idea is you can work with this and it's less strain on the memory of your computer, whereas if you use the full kit, you're loading all the articulations and all the voices, and that requires a lot more memory. So what we will do now is have a look at the mapping. Now the first thing we're going to do is what we want is the manual for the 80s Drummer. Now you might wonder why that is. Well, the answer is we want this, the drum articulations. We need the drum articulations. We need to know what notes are what. So we'll just get rid of that. We'll get rid of that because we don't need it. And what we're going to do is we're going to load a drum map. Now the drum map I'm going to load is my Freeway drum map. Why it's called 37 is because when I loaded it in off the old Atari discs, and I've talked about how I've recovered data from the Atari disc before, it came up as number 37. Bizarre. I don't ever remember saving it or giving it that number, but nonetheless, there it is. I will say, if you want to, I have drum maps for all of the Native Instruments complete drums, plus a collection of EasyX drums that I've acquired over the years. And if you want to get these drum maps, they're available for the cost of a cup of coffee from my Buy Me a Coffee page in the link below. Here endeth the commercial break. So we'll open that and we will apply it. And you will see, if I just drag this down a minute, you'll see all the MIDI notes. They're very hard to see actually. If we put a better colour on it, we'll go green from it. You can see all, that's probably a bit vile on your screens. Let's go with blue. You can see all the MIDI notes. Now, if I change that to the drum map, there will be a momentary pause because it's a very long part. And then, yeah, there you are. I told you it was take a moment. This is a long part. It's a very long part. In fact, if I do a zoom full here, you will see that this is actually 130 bars long. We've got all the different drum notes in Cubase. So I want to zoom to 2 rows. So what we'll do is we'll open this for editing and see what we've got. So this is the full Freeway drum map. We've got 4 kick drums, several snares, rim shots, a couple of hi-hats, 3 sets of toms, 4 crash cymbals. We made the full use of the fact that we had 2 drum sets available on 2 different machines to try and add some realism by changing the voices as we were going along. Remember, modern virtual drum sets are multi-sampled. If you hit a cymbal 3 times, you get 3 different samples as it goes round, what they call the round robins. Different samples to make it sound like it's not just the same one being hit. And you get that machine gun style of drum machine. What we've got here is a whole bunch of notes and a whole bunch of voices. What we need to do is reassign them to the single set of drum notes that modern drummer is waiting for. So if you click on this, it's what we call pitch visibility. And that just reduces down and shows you that in this particular song, we used kick, snare, hi-hat, and cymbals. Andrew, my songwriting partner, there was a tension when it came to drum parts. I'd grown up listening to people like Ian Pace, Neil Peart, the guy from UFO whose name escapes me, people who used to use the toms quite extensively. Andrew was very minimalist. He didn't like me getting carried away with the toms. I suspect the tom voices we had were a bit boxy, which is why he didn't like them. Anyway, so we have our kick here. Now, when you're mapping in Cubase, you have the pitch, you have the in note and the out note. You also have the channel. That's important when you're dealing with Kontakt drum instruments, because if we go back to Kontakt just briefly, you will see this is set to MIDI channel 1. That's set to MIDI channel 1. But if I play, nothing happens. That's because the mapping is sending the notes out on channel 10. So what I do here is go to MIDI from the host channel 10, and now we've got drums. Having got our voices ringing, we can go in here and have a look at the drums. So we're using kick drum. We've got 1 kick drum, it's on note C1. So we go back to our articulations here and we want the kick drum. Well, C1, it says dampened, but we'll have a listen to that and see how it sounds. So back to the drum editor. Our snare is on E1. That's not good. E1, that's the halfway right, left hand alternating. We want the center. We want alternating left and right, which is D1. So we go back to this and we change our output note to D1. Open hi-hat, closed hi-hat, I'm pretty confident are going to be right because they're the general MIDI standard for an open hi-hat and a closed hi-hat, assuming I can actually find them. Right, open hi-hat should be A#1. It says open controller, but it's A#1. A closed hi-hat is F#1. There we are. Closed tip, left, right, alternating. So that will do us for now. What you can do is once you've done this is you can go back in and start to expand the number of articulations you use. For some of the MIDI parts I used 2 hi-hat voices, and what I would do then is make them left and right hand. Use the output notes to match. Right, crash cymbal 1 and crash cymbal 2. This is C#2. So we go crash cymbal 1, high crash, C#2. Crash cymbal 2, low sharp is G2. Crash cymbal, so G2 is our splash cymbal. So we will now make that G2. And then we want the splash cymbal. And the splash cymbal number 5 is B2. So we've now remapped B2. So let's put our theory to the test. That's it. That should now remap. If we go into the instrument and we go to show trigger states, I'll put my headphones on. Oh, lost my instrument. Kit. Okay, so we now go to a point here where the cymbal that should play is the splash. Right, so when I set it going, what the hell's going on here? It's because I'm zoomed in to the nth degree and it doesn't like it. Right, there we are. So we've now set up so that the splash should be the one that appears. That's the splash. Why am I not hearing that? I'm not hearing it because I haven't got it set on trigger on mouse click. There you go. So splash should be the cymbal we hear when I set it going. And there we are. We've now successfully remapped our splash cymbal from where it was, which was on the second crash, to being on there. And that's all there is to it. Now, I've changed that Freeway 37 drum map. I don't want to leave that as a permanent change. So I'm going to name this now Freeway 37, Freeway to NI 80s drum. I've saved that now as that same thing. And so just change that back to General MIDI and change it back to that, and now it's picked it up. So now I've created a copy of my original drum map, but that is partly remapped to Native Instruments 80s Drummer. And I will continue, as I work through the other Freeway songs, putting them from the original working version into working with native instruments, an 80s drummer, I will continue to amend that drum map now that I have a copy that is actually a remapping drum map. I hope you found that helpful. Maybe you're utterly bewildered. It's a bit of an arcane backward corner of Cubase's abilities, but nonetheless, one that's very helpful to me. So I shall be moving forward with recreating Give Me a Reason over the next few videos. If you found this useful, please hit the like and subscribe button below. My drum maps are available from my Buy Me a Coffee page, link also below. Although I'm not being paid for this video, there are links below that will take you through to the Native Instruments website where you can buy the 80s drummer. It is an affiliate link. I will get a small commission if you do choose to buy, but that's down to you. So with all that said, until next time, you take care of yourselves.